These exemptions are just the latest reversal in President Trump's tariff strategy. I'm wondering how significant you think they are and what kind of impact they will have on businesses and consumers.
Never in modern history has a U.S. president slapped tariffs on allies and called them worse than enemies. But what if this chaos isn't madness? What if it's a calculated move to rewrite the rules of global trade? Trump's tariff strategy might seem like a hot mess. Trade wars, market crashes, yelling matches with allies. But what if it's actually on purpose? What if this chaos is just step one in a bigger plan? One that could flip the global economy on its head and return America to its industrial glory days. In this video, we're diving deep into the minds of Trump's economic team, their background, the blueprint they're quietly working off, and the wild new system they want to build. It's a story that goes back to World War II, hits hard in the 1980s, and lands right here in 2025, with tariffs, a strong dollar, and a new world order. By the end, you'll understand what they're really trying to do, and whether the plan has any chance of working. What does Trump actually want? To understand the chaos, we need to understand the goal, and for that, we look at two key players. Scott Bessent, Trump's new Treasury Secretary, a hedge fund legend who once helped George Soros take down the Bank of England. Stephen Moran, Trump's top economic advisor, Harvard-educated and author of a paper called A User's Guide to Restructuring the Global Trading System, which, spoiler alert, might just be the blueprint for the future. So what do they want? Simple. Reindustrialize America. Since the 1950s, U.S. manufacturing has plummeted. It used to be 28% of the economy. Now, just 10%. Whole regions like the Rust Belt were gutted. And China, it soared. The Trump team sees this as more than just bad economics. They see it as a national security threat. Here's how they think. If China invades Taiwan, who's better positioned to build ships, tanks, drones? Not America. In fact, China built more commercial ships in 1 year than the US has built since World War II. That's terrifying to them. And it's why they're obsessed with bringing back industry. Why tariffs? But here's the question. Why use tariffs? Why punch allies in the face with taxes and call them worse than enemies? Because to them, this is the only way to reset the system. According to Bessent and Miaran, America is stuck in a system it created. One that worked well for a while, but is now eating it alive. Let's rewind. A crash course in American trade dominance. There have only been 2 times in modern history when the US rewrote the world's economic rules. 1944, the Bretton Woods system. 1980s, the neoliberal order, Reagan and Thatcher era. Bretton Woods, 1944 to 1973. This was America's post-World War II baby. The rules were simple. Currencies pegged to the dollar, which was pegged to gold. US provided military protection. America opened its markets to help allies rebuild. In return, the US got loyal allies against the Soviet Union and made the dollar the world's reserve currency. A status so powerful, it let the US print money to buy whatever it wanted. This system helped Europe and Japan rise from the ashes, but it also planted the seeds of future competition. The Triffin dilemma. Here's where things got tricky. As global trade exploded, countries needed more dollars, but gold reserves didn't grow. That meant America either printed more dollars and broke the gold peg, or stopped printing and killed global growth. Nixon chose door number 1. In 1971, he took the US off gold. Boom, Bretton Woods ended. The neoliberal order, 1980s to 2016. Reagan and Thatcher ushered in the new system. Free trade everywhere, low tariffs, floating currencies, US security protection for the world. This worked for a while. The dollar stayed strong. US consumers got cheap stuff. Wall Street boomed, but US factories wiped out. Jobs gone overseas, inequality through the roof. Enter Trump in 2016, who said, "No more." The real problem. Even though America got rich off this system, it also became fragile, and that's the part Trump's team wants to fix. Besant and Moran argue that letting countries like China exploit low wages, cheat on currency, and steal tech has wrecked US industry. They don't want to end globalization. They want to rewrite the terms. The MAGA master plan. So what's the plan? According to everything Myron and Besant have written, here's what it looks like. Step 1. Create chaos with tariffs. Trump's first move, slap tariffs on everyone. Allies, enemies, doesn't matter. Why? To gain leverage. They believe the US is the only game in town. Everyone wants access to US markets. So if the US raises tariffs, others have to come to the table. It's ugly. Markets hate it. But to them, it's worth it. As Besant says, Trump's using tariffs not just as taxes, but as negotiating weapons. Step 2. Force reciprocal trade. Right now, the US often gets the short end of the stick. Countries like China or India have higher tariffs on us than we do on them. Trump's team wants to fix that. Their dream? Reciprocal tariffs. If you charge us 10%, we charge you 10%. If you mess with our currency, we slap you with penalties. It's a system designed to reward fair play and punish cheaters. And they believe because everyone wants dollars, they can pull it off. Step 3. The Mar-a-Lago Accords. Here's the big climax. If Trump wins that leverage with tariffs, the endgame is a new deal. A Mar-a-Lago Accord, named after his Florida estate. It would echo the Plaza Accord of 1985, where the US, Japan, and Europe agreed to weaken the dollar to rebalance trade. This time, it might look like this. Countries agree to peg their currencies to the dollar, like Bretton Woods 2.0. In exchange, they get low tariffs, US military protection, and dollar access. But they pay for that privilege, essentially becoming US economic allies, or, as some call it, vassal states. Think of it as Trump's version of NATO, only for trade. The green, yellow, red bucket strategy. Besant breaks the world into 3 buckets. Green countries get full benefits, low tariffs, protection, dollar access. Yellow countries get some, but not all, perks. Red countries are out in the cold, no help, high tariffs, no favors. This way, Trump's team believes they can rebuild the global order, but this time on Trump's terms. But can this actually work? Here's where things get tricky. For this plan to work, other countries have to trust the US. But the US has pulled out of major agreements before. NAFTA, renegotiated. TPP, abandoned. NATO and other alliances, constantly threatened. Why would any country peg its currency, open its markets, and trust a volatile US political system not to burn them later? That's the big question. And it's what makes this plan brilliant on paper, but fragile in practice. So, is Trump just a madman tweeting into the void? Or is this chaos part of a calculated strategy to rebuild America's industrial power and reorder the world economy? According to the people behind him, it's the latter. It's a 3-step plan. Tariff chaos to gain leverage, reciprocal trade to level the field, Mar-a-Lago Accords to secure US dominance while rebuilding its industry. Will it work? That depends on whether the world's willing to play along. But one thing's for sure, Trump's tariffs aren't just about steel or solar panels. They're about reshaping the world.